don't let the number fool you. The LG G6 is still a very viable phone in light of the Samsung Galaxy S8. I know that's probably the first thing you're thinking of going into this video. Indeed, the S8 brings a newer, faster processor to the table, but when it comes down to it, you're unlikely to notice much of a difference. It's a bit like what I said regarding the iPhone 7. The Fusion A10 chip in there is blazing fast, but the degree to which you'll notice the upgrade from that of an iPhone 6S will be very small. Expect nothing different here with LG's new flagship, the LG G6. And in case you're wondering, this is the platinum color. Right out of the box, the first thing you'll notice is the crazy high screen-to-body ratio, approaching 80%. At 5.7 inches, it's sporting a larger diagonal display than the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the iPhone 7 Plus, but with a noticeably smaller frame thanks to the reduced vertical bezels. There's something about this ratio that makes this experience seem that much more immersive. You know, screens are always getting larger with respect to their frame sizes, but this really takes the cake. I know the S8's a bit higher, I think, with the screen-to-body ratio, but this is still phenomenal, and it really does feel like you're just holding the screen. It's something I can't describe just via video. You have to actually pick one up for yourself, and you'll understand what the hype is all about, and it is real. This is super cool. And speaking of ratios, you'll find a slightly elongated aspect ratio from 16:9. Try 18:9, a screen that's twice as long as it is wide, although very few are likely to notice the elongation. Where this becomes apparent is YouTube and video streaming though. You'll have black bars on either side unless you're viewing an optimized ultra-wide format, and those are difficult to come by. Nonetheless, it's a non-issue in the long run, and the IPS technology baked in yields some of the darkest blacks imaginable, apart of course from AMOLED. Now, while IPS technology will bring some of the most accurate color reproduction to the forefront, especially in this phone, which has refined the IPS tech probably 6 or 7 times already, you will notice one thing that I consider a downfall, and that is the narrow black bezel that surrounds the screen just outside the pixels, but before you hit the actual border of the frame, where in this case you'll see the platinum surrounding the phone. There is a very thin buffer zone between those pixels that do light up and that platinum background. That's that narrow black bezel. It is noticeable. It's not something that I regard as a deal breaker, but it is there. It's something that my S7 did not have. Takes a tiny bit of getting used to. Another interesting fact, glass up front is Corning Gorilla Glass 3, and glass on the back is Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so interesting take there. Other specifications include a Qualcomm Snapdragon 821, the same processor used in the Google Pixel, 4GB of RAM, the new flagship sweet spot, and dual 13-megapixel cameras in the rear, a single 5-megapixel up front. Let's start first with performance and work our way around to the cameras. From a software standpoint, this phone is blazing fast. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by how lightweight LG's user interface is. It's called UX 6.0 and actually resembles more of an iPhone-like setup than a TouchWiz one, which is a good thing in my book. For example, you won't find an app drawer. Instead, you'll be forced to stockpile unused apps in dusty old folders, but I'm willing to compromise on that for the sake of not having that bloatware kind of TouchWiz interface that I'm used to on the Samsung phones. And I will admit the S8 seems to have foregone this feature as well. Now, while this might be a con for many people who are used to that stock Android experience, they like the app drawers, they like the fact that they can customize pretty much anything that they want on their screens, the UX 6.0 software still does bring quite a bit to the table. I think those pros do outweigh that single con. For one, the minimalistic design drastically reduces load on the processor and the RAM. I've yet to encounter a single crash or even delay at any point during daily use, and I've had this phone for about a week now. And if you're not a fan of the stock design, you do have several to choose from in LG's built-in store, or just run a third-party launcher. Double tap to wake the device and use gestures for additional ease of use. Google Assistant is also baked right in, which is a super cool feature. It's one of the perks of having an Android phone. Check this out. Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
Okay, here you go. How does a train eat? It choo-choos.
Surfing the web is seamless, multitasking and screen splitting are both effortless, and even the camera seems to benefit from this software. Starting with the rear, you'll find two 13-megapixel cameras, but their specifications do differ ever so slightly. One takes a very wide approach, the other more standard and narrow. 2 buttons up top allow for a quick change. To the left you'll find more controls, manual settings, timers, everything you might expect in an Android flagship. And to the right, video and still button shots. The good thing about this interface, it can be as simple or complex as you want, and that is the joy of Android in general. I'll discuss the camera in more detail in a dedicated video, probably a head-to-head against the Pixel phone, which I would regard as one of the best phones currently in terms of camera quality, and perhaps the Galaxy S8. But here are a few stills I took a few days ago. The f1.8 aperture on the narrower lens performs extremely well in low-lit places, as you might expect, but still introduces quite a bit of noise as the ISO is bumped up in the automatic mode, just a downside of a small phone sensor. So how I would rate the rear cameras depends largely on what I'm actually taking a picture of and where I'm taking that picture. Outside in daylight, 10 out of 10. This is probably the best outdoor camera phone I've ever seen or used. Outside at night, yeah, it's 7 out of 10. The unwarranted grain and reduced autofocus detection make it difficult to use, but do keep in mind this is the story with most phones, so we can't really dock off many points for the LG G6 here. Inside of a well-lit area, again, 10 out of 10. Even with incandescent light, it's still going to be top-notch. I can't complain about color reproduction, saturation, really anything. But take a step into a dark hallway or somewhere that's not directly lit, and you'll find the ISO again overcompensating, maybe a 6 out of 10 here. With respect to my old daily driver, this is my new one by the way, the Samsung Galaxy S7, the low light performance on both cameras, they're about on par with each other. You'll find that the apertures are pretty much the same everywhere, the ISO reacts the same way. In auto mode, I do like the customizable manual mode in the S7's user interface though, so that's something that I would give a perk to the S7 for, but in just general overall picture quality, for sure, the G6 has it. And the fact that you get to choose between a wide and a narrow lens is just the icing on the cake. If you ask me, I think the G6's wide option is better than that of the iPhone 7 Plus's dual focusing setup. I think that dual focus setup is targeted to a very specific niche audience, but in this case, with the wide angle lens, that can be used by anybody. It's similar to like, I don't know, a GoPro effect. As for video, you can max out at 4K 30 FPS or 1080p 60 FPS, which is my resolution of choice. The 60 frames per second is just the fluidity. You just can't replace that. And you can also bump it all the way up to 120 FPS if you're willing to drop to 720p, I believe. With the front-facing camera, it's really nothing special. LG sacrificed pixels in this case for low-light performance with the f2.2 aperture. I get that. There's no flash up front, so that's cool. And I suppose it does what it needs. It also has a wide-angle option, though I would have liked to have seen an 8-megapixel sensor up front, you know, for those high-def 4K Snapchat selfies. Other subdued qualities of the G6 include water and dust proofness, though I don't recommend using it underwater, and please keep it out of the ocean. Saltwater accelerates corrosion, but using it in the rain and even in the shower if you want, I don't know, if you want to be that kind of person, should be fine if it's casual. Just keep it casual. The G6's speakers are also pretty good, better than my S7's and actually approaching my iPhone 7's quality. I'd say it's directly in between. Have a listen.
So, it's your friend's birthday. How do you find the perfect gift? Download the Amazon app and let it find you. Just need your mom.
Now, if you're worried about battery life, don't be. I consider myself a power user and I can get through a full day easily with this phone. I could probably stretch it to 2 days if I really tried. But for example, last night I went to bed after waking up at 8 a.m. using the phone all day. I still had, I think, 55% battery life left. You can see here's a clip of just overall battery usage for today. It's currently about 2 p.m. as of time of filming. Now, it's no iPhone 6 Plus, but a 3300 milliamp hour battery on an operating system that's actually pretty conservative when it comes to battery consumption is plenty for this phone. I put my seal of approval on the battery life. You don't have anything to worry about here. But even if that won't cut it, the USB Type-C quick charger will deliver a 50% charge in a matter of around 30 minutes or so. That's not an exaggeration. In fact, if you're around 0% battery when you first plug in your phone, expect near 30% charge in about 15 minutes. And that's how quick charge technology works. When you first plug in your phone, it'll send more power than normal to your battery up front for the first 15 minutes or so. That's why your phone will charge very quickly for that first 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And then it'll slowly back off that power to a more conservative amount after that time just to relieve the stress on the battery. The phone also won't heat up quite like others when quick charging, though I can't attest to whether that's the result of the phone's frame or just the battery quality itself. And on that note, in a bit of an unorthodox fashion, I'm going to end the video talking about build quality, because that's the first and the last thing that you'll remember about the G6 when you first pick it up and when you set it down to walk away. In this arena, it is top notch. And I don't say that lightly. Compared to my S7, it's a bit edgier. The back of the phone is only slightly curved, so you feel the edges dip into your palm a bit, but I actually don't mind it. It's also not very wide, making it good for one-hand use, at least in my case. I don't mind the subtle LG logo at the bottom. I love how barren the back is, and I'm also a huge fan of the fingerprint sensor. It took a bit of time getting used to having the home button on the back of the device, especially coming from something like an S7 where the home button's, where it usually is, but it is a worthwhile adjustment. It's just conveniently placed. And unlike the S8, which I've seen a few reviews of, I don't have the phone currently, you don't have to place it next to the camera, which I thought was really weird. Like, why did Samsung do that? So this is just convenient. It's just like it is on the, I believe the 5X and the 6P from the Nexus lineup. This is the ideal spot right here. And the sensor is so sensitive and accurate, you'll often find yourself with an unlocked phone before you've even realized you placed your index finger there, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing. The volume buttons to the left are very tactile, yet light as well, feeling less mechanical and more organic. Ooh, there's a word I never thought I'd use to describe tech. There it is, Salazar Studio, LG G6, organic. So do I recommend the phone? Yes, but do I also recommend waiting for the final verdict on the Samsung Galaxy S8 first? That's the LG G6's prime competitor at this point. Also, yes, the LG G6 will not disappoint, but it's always best to weigh all options before pulling the trigger. Things the LG G6 is missing, by the way, a notification LED and laser autofocus, something that I actually envied from the previous LG G series. But what does it bring to the table? Quite a bit more to compensate. You can find a link to the LG G6 in this video's description. When it does become available, you can purchase it unlocked or via your personal carrier. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, thumbs down for the opposite. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. I will catch you in the next video. This is Salazar Studio. Thanks for learning with us.